Hi everyone, Miss Turner, and today we're going to go through our counselor intro lesson. As a result of this lesson, students will get to know their counselors and other student services staff, which you've already done via our Flipgrid videos. You'll understand the role of school counselors, understand the difference between a crisis and a concern, and know how to access your counselor if you need us. This year at Poe, students have a lot of different resources for help and support. First, you have your teachers. Teachers are the experts when it comes to your academics, so you should be reaching out to your teachers for help with your classes. You also have an advisor, which is your advisory teacher. Students check in with their advisor multiple times each month. And if you happen to have your advisory teacher for Raven time, you see them weekly and can conference about any school-related topics. You also have a school counselor. Each grade has one counselor, and students can make an appointment to talk to their counselor about any social or emotional issue. We can also assist with academic and career counseling. So how can school counselors help? There are sort of three tiers of the way we support students, and that is academic, social and emotional, and college and career. Academic typically includes helping you choose your classes, supporting your success, whether that's through helping you with test taking skills, studying skills, organization, and attendance, which is a really important part of being successful. We also do a lot of work around social and emotional support. We do individual counseling, group counseling, and classroom lessons. Common things that students come to talk to us about are family changes, friendship issues, stress, anxiety, and anger management, grief and loss, and conflict resolution. Lastly, we always also support with college and career. We do that through Career Day, high school specialty programs, career and college exploration through advisory. And we help support the George Mason Early Identification Program and Thomas Jefferson High School for science and technology applications. Okay, let's talk about confidentiality. Hopefully you've heard this before. It means that when you talk to your counselor, what you say to your counselor stays with your counselor, except if someone is hurting you, you want to hurt yourself, or you want to hurt someone else. Those are three safety issues that school counselors and any adult in this building are not able to keep private because they're related to safety, and that's our number one priority while you're here at school. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. A question to consider: why might a student choose to talk to their counselor about an issue instead of their friends? Many of you have many friends, and so why might you talk to a counselor? I'm going to ask teachers to pause the video at this time and allow students to respond. Okay, so hopefully you all had a chance to share your answers. Something that comes to mind for me is that sense of confidentiality, right? In middle school, sometimes there's things that you want to talk about, and maybe you're concerned that your friends won't be able to keep it to themselves, right? Unfortunately, that happens a lot in middle school where someone will talk to a friend that they think they can trust, and then what they shared gets shared with others. That does happen a lot. Also, maybe if you're having an issue with an adult family member or even a teacher, that is something that you might want to talk to another adult about to help you problem solve. So we're just here to really listen and help you come up with solutions to whatever you're going through. Okay, speaking to those safety sort of issues, right? When we talk about threats to ourselves or to others, I just wanted you all to know that we take those comments about safety really seriously. So when I say that, I mean comments about, or comments like, I'm going to kill you when you get mad at someone, if you're someone who says something like that. Or maybe you get frustrated with a test or some situation, and maybe you're someone that doesn't mean it, but just says things like, I'm going to kill myself, or I just want to die. I just want everyone to hear from us that we are going to, adults are required to report that, even if they think you're joking, and we're going to respond because, again, number one priority is keeping everybody safe. So please be careful not to joke or talk lightly about self-harm, suicide, or harming others. If you do, it's not about being in trouble, but it's important to recognize that someone will, either a counselor or administrator, depending on the situation, will come and talk with you. And if we end up needing to do a risk assessment, that is something we will do. And we do always contact parents or family members when we do those. So again, just please be careful with your words. Please don't say things you don't mean out of frustration or anger that may lead to you kind of getting into this risk assessment process. Okay, now we're going to talk about crisis versus concern. Okay, so often as a school counselor, when students come to see me, these are the two sort of types of issues. Okay, a crisis is I need to see my counselor immediately because this is an emergency. All right, so think of crisis and emergency. So some examples of emergencies are what we just talked about, right? Someone harming themselves or wanting to harm themselves or hurting others or being hurt at home, any safety risks, or maybe big life changes, maybe you lost a family member or something that's just making it impossible to be in class. So that would be an emergency. A concern is what I usually talk to students about 99% of the time. So that's when you need to see a counselor about an issue that's not an emergency. And just because it's not an emergency, it doesn't mean it's not important, okay? So it can be really upsetting when you are struggling with stress or you have a big fight with a friend or a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or maybe you're upset about your grades, or it's something more simple and you just want to talk about your classes or your schedule or how to be more organized. Those are all examples of a concern that is not an emergency where you have to come see me right that second. Okay. So we're going to practice crisis or concern and see how you do. So for this activity, you're going to hold up one finger if you think the scenario is a crisis and two fingers if you think it's a concern. Here's our first scenario. A student would like to talk to their counselor about their schedule. So at this time, hold up one finger if you think the scenario is a crisis and two if you think it's a concern. And the answer is concern, right? Because crisis, we're thinking emergency. Talking about your schedule is definitely not an emergency. Good. Next scenario, a student wants to talk to their counselor because they had an argument with their friend. Is this a crisis? Put up one finger if you think it's a crisis, or a concern, two fingers if you think it's a concern. And the answer is concern, right? Even though this is upsetting, this is not an emergency, right? This is something where I could come get you as soon as I'm available. So it's important, but it's not an emergency. Good job. All right, last one. A student needs to talk to a counselor because they notice that their friend posted on social media about hurting himself. Is this, hold up one finger if it's a crisis, two if it's a concern? Yes, this is definitely a crisis. And why? Because it's related to safety. You guys are on social media a lot, you know, once you leave the building, and we do ask you to be just good citizens of our school and friends to people. And if you see someone post something about, you know, a safety issue, whether that's related to hurting themselves or hurting others, it's extremely important that you report that to an adult, and we do consider that an emergency. So you could come to the front office and let them know you need to talk to a counselor or a principal, and it's an emergency. It's really important that we keep everyone safe, and we can also do a really good job of making sure that the person does not find out who reported. But either way, remember, safety is the #1 priority. Speaking of that, we just want to talk about the culture at Poe and remind you all that all students at Poe deserve to learn in a safe and supportive school environment. Of course, if anyone is ever not feeling safe, that is an emergency, right? And that is something that we want you to report to an adult immediately. So I would just want you to take a little time to think about how you can contribute to a caring culture at Poe. How can you make this a place that students look forward to coming to and feel safe and cared for when they're here? So I'm gonna have teachers, if you could pause the video again and allow students a few minutes to share their answers with a partner and then out loud with the full group. Okay, I hope you had a good discussion. Here are some things that we came up with. Treating others with respect and kindness. That's really at the heart of probably all of these behaviors, right? Treating people the way that you want to be treated, the way that you want your friends and your family members to be treated. That's really important. Finding ways to include and make other students feel welcome. I think that's really a good one here at Poe, because we have a lot of new students coming in every week, honestly, and it's super difficult to be a new student in a new school. So really looking for ways to include and make students feel welcome. We also like to celebrate students' culture, identity, values, and beliefs. We are all different, which is the best thing about us. It would be really boring if we all, you know, looked the same, thought the same, behaved the same. So we're unique, and it's just important to be proud of who you are and also honor, respect, and celebrate who other people are. Following directions, that's a pretty obvious one, right? I mean, but generally it's just very important to remember that there are students and there are adults. And as students, it is your responsibility to follow adult directions. And then lastly, just showing respect for school property. I think it matters, right? If you come into the building and things look nice and are clean and put together, and we have people here who work really hard to keep our school in good shape. And so you all can help to do that by cleaning up after yourselves, cleaning up honestly after others as well sometimes, and showing respect for our school. Okay. Last slide, just wanted to let you know what our emails are, right? So I'm Mrs. Turner. I'm currently the 6th grade counselor, and that's my email. Miss Morning is the 7th grade counselor. That's her email. And Miss Carrie, the 8th grade counselor, that's her email. just remember that there's one counselor per grade level. So when you think about that, there's one single counselor and almost 300 students that they're working with. Okay, 300. So sometimes we're very busy, and especially when something's a concern instead of a crisis, we're going to do our best to get to you as soon as we can. But I hope that you'll have patience with us and understand when that can't happen right away. We are looking forward to a really successful year with you this year. Thanks for doing this lesson with me today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.